This year is being sponsored Lili Nishmas and memory of Bracha Leah Bas of Chaim Tzvi. And the Sedra Bo is a Sedra, dramatic Sedra, in which the Jewish people are redeemed from Egypt. And the last of the 10 plagues, the last of the Makas, of course, is what's called Makas Bechoros, the smiting of the firstborn. And we find a number of references in this parsha to the death of the firstborn. For example, in Parak Yud Beis, Pasuk Yud Beis, God says, even before the plague happens, God says, "Ve'avarti be'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla hazeh, v'kesi kol bechor be'eretz Mitzrayim me'adam v'ad behema v'chol Elohim Mitzrayim e'aseh shvatim ani Hashem." God says, "I will pass that night through the land of Egypt, and I will destroy every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from men to animals, and I will pass judgment on all Egyptian gods." Pasuk Gimel v'haya hadam lachem laos al abatim asher tem sham ra'isis hadam v'asachti lechem v'lo yevachem l'negesh l'mashchis ba'kosi be'eretz Mitzrayim. And I will see the blood. The Jews, as you know, had to put blood from the Korban Pesach, the Paschal sacrifice, on the doorpost. When I see that blood, I will pass over. Hence the name Passover, Pesach. I will pass over those homes and not destroy. That's in Parak Yud Beis. Earlier, Parak Yud Aleph. Moshe Komar Hashem Kachat Tzos Halal Ani Yotzei B'Soch Mitzrayim Meis Kol Bechor Be'eretz Mitzrayim Bechor Paro Yoshev Al Kisa Bechor Shivcha Asher Achar Rechaim Bechor Bechor Behema. I will go through Egypt that night, and all Egyptian firstborn will die, from the Bechor of Paro on his throne to the Bechor of the lowest of the maidens and so on. And Pasuk so say there'll be an outcry, a cry of pain, of anguish in Egypt, such as there's never been, and such that there never will be again. But a Jewish people, not even a dog will bark, nothing. God will distinguish between the Egyptians and the Jews. Later in Parak Yud Beis, Pasuk Chavtes, the Torah records that this happened. It was the middle of the night. Vashem hika kol bechor be'eretz Mitzrayim. God indeed killed all the firstborns in Egypt. From the Bechor of Paro, who sat on his throne, to the Bechor of the prisoners languishing somewhere in the dungeon. And therefore, Paro got up in the middle of the night. He and his servants and all of Egypt. There was indeed a great outcry in Egypt. There wasn't a house where there wasn't a deceased person. And Parak Yud Gimel, when we recount what happened, Pasuk Tezvav, indeed, when Paro refused and became stubborn, refused to release us, God killed every firstborn, from animals to people to animals and so on. And there it says, in this connection, we have a mitzvah. A mitzvah called Pidyon Haben, where we have to redeem a firstborn child. It's really formulated later in the Torah, in Bamidbar Parak Gimel, Pasuk Gimel. God says, Kili kol bechor b'yom hakosi kol bechor be'eretz Mitzrayim higdashti li kol bechor b'Yisrael me'adam ad behema liyu ani Hashem. God says, really? Every bechor, every firstborn belongs to me, because I acquired, so to speak, every firstborn when I came down to Egypt that night. And so every Jewish firstborn really belongs to me. I spared him. But that's what the Torah says, and therefore there are various mitzvahs that relate to the ben, the firstborn, the bechor. One of the mitzvahs is very, very interesting, appears in the Talmud Yerushalmi. Psachim, Parak Yud, Halacha Aleph. Amar Rabbi Levi. Rabbi Levi makes the following statement. Ha'ochel matzah be'erev Pesach. Someone who eats matzah on Erev Pesach, kebo ala rusoso b'beis chomiv. It's like somebody who has relations with his wife when they're still engaged, she's still living with his father. Meaning, it's jumping the gun. You shouldn't eat matzah on Erev Pesach. You have to eat matzah at the Seder Pesach night. You don't eat matzah on Erev Pesach. Someone who eats matzah on Erev Pesach is jumping the gun. It's like he can't wait. It's not nice. It's impolite. It's like somebody who's waiting to marry his wife and then he sleeps with her before they're even married, before the actual wedding ceremony takes place. She's still living at home. And that gives you malchus. That's one statement. Tanir Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Omer, Bein Chametz, Bein Matzah Aser. Chametz and Matzah are both Aser on Erev Pesach. Why? Rabbi Simon Shem B'Shubah Levi, Rebbe lo ha'ochel lo Chametz lo Matzah. My Rebbe indeed would not eat either chametz or matzah on Erev Pesach. Matzah min hador de Levi, okay? Matzah because of this teaching of Rabbi Levi that we just read. He said it's like jumping the gun. V'lo chametz min hador de Yehuda ben Beseira. And not chametz because of Yehuda ben Beseira's teaching that chametz is also aser. So they were asked, Rebbe, Talmid of Yehuda ben Beseira? Was Rebbe a student that he followed this teaching of Yehuda ben Beseira? He wasn't. Right? I was a student of somebody else. Ella says the Yerushalmi begin to have a bechor because he was a bechor. He was the firstborn. He would not eat either matzah or chametz on Erev Pesach, says the Yerushalmi. You know why? Because he was a bechor. He didn't eat on Erev Pesach. He fasted, it would seem, on Erev Pesach because he was a bechor. That's what the Yerushalmi says. Gemara goes on. I'm Reb Mani, Reb Yonah, Abba, have a bechor, Abba achel. He said, my father used to eat. My father used to eat, even though he was a bechor, he was a firstborn. So, the Gemara concludes, maybe Rebbe was a different reason he didn't eat, not because he was a bechor. Tanchumen says, Lo min hadar, Ela min hadar. Rebbe